I'm convinced that if we can show that politics can change Britain for the better, then we can face the future with confidence.
Frankly, no, seriously, I think we're let down by all sides of the parties.
I think they've got the right intentions, but they're struggling to get their message across, I think, is the problem.
Has the time not come, Prime Minister, to prescribe what is so obviously a terrorist organisation?
Keir Starmer's approval rating has plummeted by 40 points since he became Labour leader. That's not just a dip, it's a nosedive, but it's not just the numbers. Douglas Murray's recent takedown of Starmer on live TV revealed deeper issues. Is this the beginning of the end for Starmer's leadership? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
So what's happened to that David Cameron who called it on? Let's be fair.
I think you're referring to our former Prime Minister.
Yeah, but
Is that because you fear failure?
No, Beth, the way we've constructed it is that there are foundational things that a government must do.
Keir Starmer rose quickly to become the leader of the Labour Party. He joined Parliament in 2015 after serving as the Director of Public Prosecutions and rose through the ranks fast. To many, he was the party's savior when he succeeded Jeremy Corbyn in 2020. He appeared to be the ideal person to hold Boris Johnson accountable because of his professional manner and legal experience. Starmer initially lived up to the expectations. During Prime Minister's questions, he brutally questioned Johnson, revealing the government's mistakes in responding to the pandemic. For the first time in years, Labour surpassed the Conservatives in the polls. Starmer's composed, capable demeanour won over the public.
That I should have stayed in my Kentish Town home and disrupted my son's GCSEs, that was the right thing to do, then I think you should put that to me.
Will you nationalise the big six energy companies, yes or no?
No.
No, you will not.
By the Home Secretary was the wrong decision, and I think it was a rushed.
Just reassure you that it's actually really easy, because I don't normally do these things either, but I thought this thing is getting ahead of steam, and I think...
It appeared as though Labour had finally returned from the wilderness. However, it is not an easy task to lead an opposition during a global crisis. Starmer had to balance the need for national cohesion with constructive criticism. While some applauded his responsible approach, others accused him of being too lenient toward the government. Additionally, the pandemic denied him the chance to interact directly with voters, which is an essential component of raising his profile. Cracks started to appear as the months went by. The left wing of the party was incensed at Starmer's efforts to disassociate himself from the Corbyn period. Those who were hoping for a bold vision began to resent his cautious, lawyer-like approach to politics. Accusations of purges of left-wing members and a lack of a clear policy direction caused internal conflicts to surface. These initial difficulties were a sign of more serious issues.
Of that, I wake up every morning thinking I've got a mandate to change the country. I've got a mandate to improve living standards. I've got a mandate to improve the health service.
No income tax, no national insurance, no VAT.
Means that this budget raises taxes by £40 billion.
I mean, Nigel Farage is one of the most popular politicians in the country. That's why millions of people voted for him and his party at the last election.
Could Starmer bring a sharply split party together? Would his legal accuracy become motivating leadership? These questions became more pressing as the pandemic's immediate crisis subsided. When Starmer lost the Hartlepool by-election in May 2021, his honeymoon period ended abruptly. After losing a seat they had occupied for decades, Starmer's leadership was suddenly scrutinized. Critics sharpened their blades from all sides of the party. After being heralded as Labour's greatest hope, the man now had a difficult time proving he could win elections. The storm clouds were building. It was going to get much harder for Starmer, who had gone from being a golden boy to a beleaguered leader. What would he do in the rough seas ahead? Starmer appeared to lose his sense of direction just when Labour believed they had found their captain. Supporters became disillusioned and dizzy due to his policy vacillations. Was this, however, a straightforward instance of bad navigation or an indication of more serious issues within the group? Starmer's efforts to reconcile the conflicting factions within Labour swiftly devolved into a delicate political balancing act.
Is obvious, but border security is equally obvious in my view, and that's why I've said we are committed to bringing down immigration.
And in doing so, not just do the right thing, but maybe mend some fences between this government and the incoming.
I've buried £1,000 in cash in a secret location in case I ever have to go on the run.
He ultimately failed to win over either the left or the centrist wings despite his best efforts. Accusations of treachery poured in from all directions. Do you recall the audacious campaign pledges that thrilled Labour members? Well, they began to disappear more quickly than free drinks at a political party. Students felt deceived by Starmer's reversal on the university tuition fee ban. Pro-European supporters were baffled by his reversal on EU freedom of movement. It was like witnessing a magician vanish Labour's values in front of your eyes. Discontent erupted on social media. It seemed as though voters who had placed their trust in Starmer had been duped. Instead of merely complaining, partygoers were making their way out.
Pensioners, 10 million of them, who will be shivering in their homes this winter. Well, frankly, they already are. How cold has it been this weekend?
Local MP. But it just doesn't feel like... I suppose with Boris there was some excitement around him, if we're casting back a few years now.
I will defend our decisions in the budget all day long. I will defend facing up to the harsh light of fiscal reality.
With many blaming Starmer's leadership for their departure, Labour's membership numbers plummeted. The party was not the only source of the criticism. Once mesmerized by Starmer's polished image, the media now sharpened their blades. Opinion pieces cast doubt on his sincerity. He was depicted by political cartoonists as a weather vane that whirled with each shift in the political winds. A pivotal question arose as the scandals mounted. How would these internal disputes impact Labour's prospects at the polls? Falling poll numbers were the solution. The gap between Labour and the Conservatives vanished. Once his greatest strength, Starmer's personal approval ratings now appeared to be more of a liability. It now appeared that the man who was meant to bring Labour back to power was driving them farther into the wilderness. The murmurs of unhappiness became louder every week. A few members of Parliament began to openly question whether Starmer was the best candidate to challenge the Conservatives in the upcoming general election.
How comes he can scuttle off? He called all this on.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He has no regrets.
Where is he? He's in Europe.
Are fully costed and fully funded. And that means no tax rises for working people.
We're not going to be raising tax on working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We're not putting up taxes on working people.
Starmer's credibility declined, along with Labour's polling numbers. The once bright young man of British politics now appeared damaged and exposed. The true test, however, was still to come. Starmer's leadership was in jeopardy, and he was about to take on his most difficult task to date. What was his plan for surviving the impending storm? The last nail in Starmer's coffin was Douglas Murray's biting live TV criticism. He made everyone aware of the Labour leader's inconsistent policies and poor leadership. Once heralded as Labour's greatest hope, Starmer now resembled a deer in headlights. The consequences were immediate. In the Westminster corridors, Labour MPs began to whisper, who might take Starmer's place? The names of possible opponents started to get out there. Some demanded a shift to the centre, while others called for a return to the left.
In Nice, with his trotters up, yeah? Where is the geezer? I think he should be held accountable for it. He should be held accountable for it.
It's a valid point.
What a pensioner is. They don't think of someone living hand to mouth, deciding whether or not to have a meal or to switch on the radiator. I don't think that's how they perceive pensioners.
Tax to record levels. They have broken their promises, and it is the working people of this country that are going to pay the price.
The party appeared to be more split than before. How does this affect politics in Britain? With Labour in a mess, the Conservatives could easily win another election. Politics, however, is unpredictable. Before the next election, could a new Labour leader come to power and make a difference, or will voters turn to other parties, allowing smaller parties to make an impression? There is no doubt that Starmer's aspirations to become Prime Minister are rapidly dwindling. For Labour to recover from this mess, a miracle is required. What are your thoughts? Will Labour be able to bounce back, or is the working class party doomed?